Tesla's got yet another competitor in the works, but that's not really news. Which brand is jumping into the EV game may just surprise you. InsideEVs contributor Tom Moloughney, who has seen the prototype in person with me, will tell us if they may actually pull it off. Rivian's delivery van made for Amazon was spied making deliveries in California with some very annoying side effects. Toyota just got fined for their own Dieselgate-like scandal. GM goes big with electric vehicles at CES, including an electric delivery van, another Cadillac EV, electric flying taxi, and more. I will tell you about Audi e-tron and Porsche Taycan's surprising 2020 sales numbers. Lordstown Motors' reservation count is getting quite impressive. Lucid Motors may just get some major cash injection. NHTSA politely asks Tesla to recall almost 200,000 cars over a long-known issue. Hyundai teases the new Ioniq 5 while suggesting it will be making Apple's electric car, and other electric car news coming up next. Welcome to E4 Electric, your #1 source of electric car scoop. If you are interested in everything that's going on in the world of electric cars, go ahead and click on that subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you don't miss anything moving forward. And yes, I'm still wearing the hat. If you want to know the story behind it, I put that in the description of this video. But let's get to the top story, because remember, last year's CES biggest surprise was that Sony had a pretty cool looking prototype that they kind of put together to demonstrate their technology, and everyone was like, hey guys, you should make it. Well, this time this year, the biggest surprise is that they're actually making it. Sony has just released a video of the Vision S, that's the name of the car, testing on the public roads in Europe. That's no joke. Let me remind you about a couple of specs that Sony did release. It will have a dual motor system, 0 to 60 in about 4.7 seconds. It will have lots of self-driving oriented technology, gesture controls, face recognition, and it looks pretty damn great. Of course, my most favorite feature, as you could probably guess, is the wide screen that's going from the left to the right pillar, essentially becoming your dashboard, just like with Byton and Byte. And just like with Byton, it looks like Sony is building this car around the tech rather than the other way around, and I think that's going to be its biggest advantage. For more, as usual, we turn to the InsideEVs contributor and one of the very few people who got to see this car in person, Tom Moloughney. But before that, a quick reminder that this video and this channel is sponsored by Climate Exchange. Only a few weeks left until the Tesla raffle. You can win a Tesla of your choice, but only 800 tickets are still remaining, so make sure to get yours using the link in the description of this video. And even if you don't win, the money will go towards a great environmental cause. And NeoCharge already have 2 electric cars, but fighting over a single charger? Well, NeoCharge's dual car smart splitter lets you plug both into one 220 outlet without spending a ton of money on a panel upgrade. Get one today and use the discount code in the description of this video. All right, Tom, so we both saw this car in person in Vegas about a year ago, and I know you were very skeptical that it was just a demo car, and it looks like you were right. They are moving forward with at least testing. So now that we see this video and we know what we know, do you think they're quite serious about this?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought they were serious last year at CES when you and I were at the reveal. It was too good. It looked like it was polished and ready to go into production. You just don't see that with concept cars when, some company is trying to demonstrate, as they said, their tech. The vehicle looked like we could have just driven it off the showroom and been a new car. So, I mean, I thought it was awesome. I knew they were sandbagging us, that they had more plans for this than they were leading on to. And now, it comes to fruition that, hey, they're, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to make this. So, and I'm glad they are, because I like it.
Now, this is a very interesting case, right? They're newbies to the built-in cars in general, definitely to electric cars, but they're quite large, pretty big company. Do you think this is an interesting and needed player in the electric car industry where, they got money and know-how and factories and all, but they're still kind of starting from scratch?
Alex, welcome to the new world of automobiles. You know, you don't have to be an automobile manufacturer to manufacture an automobile. You know, the cars are turning into more tech. You know, we see Apple, Google, for a while Dyson threw their hat in the ring. Why not Sony? With the way cars are being designed now, they're a little bit different than in past years. There's so much more tech. Manufacturers don't have to make an engine. That's like the hardest thing to make on a car is like your own engine, your own motor. You don't have to make that anymore. So, they're serious. I think we're going to see more of this, and I like it.
Now, it looks like Apple was approaching Hyundai to build their Apple car for them. And, Jaguar, I-Pace and future Fisker Ocean are going to be built by Magna. It looks like Sony might be using Magna as well. So is there a disadvantage and maybe also an advantage of not building your own car?
Sure, there obviously are disadvantages, but there are advantages. And why does Jaguar Land Rover use Magna? BMW uses Magna. Daimler uses Magna. You know, some of the best car makers in the world have Magna make their cars for them. Some of their cars, not many. So, Magna is really good at this. So, I think if I'm a tech startup and I want to make an electric car, I don't want to go through the hassle of my own factory. Honestly, I would contract it out too. I thought it was a great strategy when we heard Fisker announce this, and I think it's great for Sony. And I think we're going to see more of this in the future. Companies startups don't want to invest in the manufacturing facility and don't want to have to go through production hell that one very famous startup goes through. Give it to the professionals that know how to build the cars.
Okay, you got to tell me about that startup one of these days. I always like to find out about newcomers. But all right, so here's a trick. I don't even know if it's a trick question, but it's let's fantasize question. Now, Sony, as you know, does make batteries. I'm sure you've used some, and so have I. But regular AA, AAA batteries. Now, at the same time, do you think this could be sort of a test mule for them to get into the automotive battery cell manufacturing?
It's possible. We haven't really heard a lot about Sony investing a lot in battery tech. I think if they were, we might have heard a little bit more or seen some smoke in that, but who knows? They kept this project pretty secret for a while. Maybe they are, in the works of developing their own, large format cells that they would use in this vehicle. It's not. It's definitely in their wheelhouse. So let's say that's possible. But I think that's less likely than them really focusing on the in-vehicle tech, the UI, UX, and possibly trying to develop systems that maybe even get licensed to other OEMs. The entrenched OEMs, the legacy companies, they're behind in this tech. So I think a newcomer like Sony might be open to licensing some of their in-vehicle tech to some of the existing brands that are trying to catch up with electric vehicles.
Don't forget to subscribe to Tom's YouTube channel, where he just put out a great video where he cites 25 differences between his brand new Model 3 and his previous Model 3 version. Now, one of the biggest things that we are looking forward to this year, of course, is to Rivian delivering their pickup truck and their SUV, but at the same time, they're also working on their Amazon delivery van, because after all, Amazon is one of their biggest investors and has already placed an order of 100,000 of these. And now, thanks to our friends at driveteslacanada.ca, we get our first look of the prototype in action, actually delivering packages in this California neighborhood. But there is one caveat. The low-speed sound alert is absolutely atrocious. I'm hoping that it is louder than normal and maybe more annoying than normal, just to make sure that they don't run over any cats or kids, to make sure that the program doesn't get halted. But once it goes in production, I really hope they go with something different. At this point, I would even rather hear the sound of the gas engine. But I'm just glad to see them testing this in the real world, so hopefully we'll get to see this very soon in our neighborhoods as well. For our top story, I mentioned that it was the Sony Vision S that made the biggest splash in an electric car universe last year during the CES. This year, during the virtual CES, it was the GM that made the biggest splash. In their presentation, GM tried to put a lot of effort into emphasizing that they really are serious about electrifying all of their brands. As you can see, they had quite a few upcoming electric cars on stage with them, I guess as backup dancers. Of course, you couldn't exactly recognize the shapes, but it's good to know that they have quite a few of them in the works. I was able to see most of them when I visited Detroit in March. However, they didn't let us videotape or take pictures, but things are finally shaping up. One of the vehicles that they have unveiled was the Bright Drop EV600 delivery van with an impressive 250-mile range. The first deliveries will start by the end of this year, and they will be delivered to their first customer, FedEx. GM has also unveiled a teaser of the upcoming Cadillac Celestiq, where the glass roof has this smart glass technology where each occupant of the vehicle can set their own level of roof transparency. Now, this is kind of cool, but silly at the same time, because as the vehicle drives around, the angle of the sun will change, and of course, you won't be able to escape it. This is just as silly of a gimmick as, I think, dual air conditioning. But my favorite feature, of course, just like it was in Byton and Sony, was the pillar-to-pillar screen. Celestiq is not due out until a few years from now. Of course, ahead of that, Cadillac is still working on the Cadillac Lyric that is due out next year. Now, I got to see the Celestiq back in March when I was in Detroit, as I mentioned earlier, and it does look very futuristic, but it's kind of weird at the same time. It's kind of like Faraday Future FF91 meets your grandmother's station wagon, but in a kind of an awesome way. They have also unveiled a Cadillac electric flying taxi, but obviously that was a little bit too much. Why don't you guys worry about getting the second generation Bolt, the Hummer EV, the Lyric out on the market, and then we can talk about flying. We were all very excited once we've learned that Tesla hit their goal of 500,000 deliveries in 2020, but in all of that hoopla, we kind of forgot to check on the numbers of other popular electric cars, and they have done pretty well too. Audi has sold almost 50,000 of e-trons in 2020, pretty much doubling their total from a year before. E-tron is Tesla's biggest competitor in the electric SUV category, often outselling them by a wide margin in Europe. Porsche has also surprised us, selling over 20,000 of Taycans in 2020, with almost half of them coming in Q4, which means we can expect even higher numbers next year. Lordstown Motors also got to brag about their numbers, crossing 100,000 reservations, mainly from commercial fleets. Their all-electric pickup truck Endurance goes in production later this year. Now, if you thought that I couldn't dislike Toyota anymore for not making electric cars, lying about why they're not making electric cars, and advertising their gas cars as green, well, you were wrong. They have out-Toyota'd themselves once again. Toyota had to settle with government regulators on a $180 million fine for delaying and avoiding recalls related to emission compliance and other violations of the Clean Air Act from 2005 to 2015. That's an entire decade. It's like the Dieselgate, the Tokyo Drift. The regulators have stated that Toyota has financially benefited from all of this and then passed the cost to the consumers, plus the whole dying from the lung diseases thing. But Toyota knew about these fines and they still did it, because I am assuming these fines are not big enough because they're still getting profits even after paying this. So something's gotta change. Lucid Motors is reportedly in talks to go public via a reverse merger. Now, normally I am all for it when a company needs the money right away and there is no other way to do it, but I don't know why Lucid wouldn't be able to find a regular investor to raise money that way. Rivian, for example, found investors in Ford, Amazon, and Cox Automotive for billions of dollars, plus they got a strategic partner in every single one of them. And of course, remember that instead of working for their customers, a company that is public now has a new priority, which is their investors. If this does happen, Lucid will join a long list of electric car companies that have recently gone public via a reverse merger, like Nikola, Lordstown Motors, Canoo, Fisker arrival, and maybe even Faraday Future, but I trust their leadership, including Peter Rollison, to make the right decision. NHTSA is finally politely asking Tesla to recall up to 183,000 Model S and Model X vehicles over the failing displays, or as we know them, the MCU failure issue, where the displays either slow down to a crawl, consistently reboot themselves, or just flat out freeze. A couple of months ago, Tesla has agreed to voluntarily replace the faulty units for free after all the pressure by the community by offering the extended warranty, but many owners have still been having some issues. And I gotta tell you, I am sick and tired of approving all of these posts in my Model S owners Facebook group, people complaining about the MCU failures, not knowing what to do. This has got to stop. This is just wrong. The most valuable automaker in the world, run by the richest person in the world, is abandoning its customers over this very serious issue. This is exactly why I stopped buying Teslas, even though I was one of the first adopters back in 2012, when it wasn't very cool to drive a Tesla. As a matter of fact, it was a big risk. And if it wasn't for people like me putting our trust in Tesla, a brand new company on the verge of bankruptcy, nobody would be driving a Tesla today. They gotta do the right thing. Now, before one of the veins in my head bursts, let's move on to a happier subject, which is the Apple Car. As you remember, we found out last week that Apple is still moving forward with creating their own electric vehicle. It looks like it will be due out in 2024, but now we find out that Hyundai will probably be manufacturer that actually going to be making the Apple Car. Hyundai did have to backtrack on that statement, re-releasing it without mentioning Apple. I'm assuming Apple wasn't very happy about making this public, but the cat is out of the bag. Looks like Apple will be jumping in, just like Sony, into the electric car arena. And I gotta tell you, Hyundai is not a bad partner. Look, they have a Kona that's now at the 2nd generation, and Ioniq 5 is also coming out very soon. Now, speaking of the Ioniq 5, while busy outing Apple's plans for their electric car, Hyundai had enough time to unveil some of the teaser images for all of us, and with some additional video that they have already released, the whole shape of the Ioniq 5 is really taking place. They have also mentioned that this car will be able to add 60 miles in just 5 minutes of fast charging, so as soon as they unveil this, you of course will hear about it right here on E4 Electric. The Volkswagen Id4 is probably going to be one of the biggest challengers to Tesla this year, and Volkswagen has been putting a lot of efforts into marketing of this car, including the commercial that they have aired last Saturday during the NFL Wild Car game. You're looking at that commercial right now, and I gotta tell you, I watched it many times and I still don't really get it. I mean, why not show the damn car? Why all this artsy-fartsy stuff that really made me dizzy by the time the car even appeared on the screen? The ID4 has a lot of cool features that you can showcase, like gesture controls or touch switches or the play-pause pedals. Why not show that? But I'm just glad that Volkswagen is putting their money where their mouth is, which is behind the electric car revolution. Now, this is the last story for this video, and you're probably wondering what to watch next. How about a video that I recently put together featuring 20 sexy and amazing electric car concepts? And at the end of that video, there's a little perk where Henrik Fisker himself explains why these amazing electric car concepts never make it to our driveways. They just never look the same. I put a link to that video in the description of this one. So I'm looking forward to all of your comments. Other than that, see you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.